All right. Hey, everyone. Today, we're going to be talking about the current state of audit contests. Like I said, some of the biggest protocols in the world are using audit contests as part of their security stack to make sure their protocol is safe before going to mainnet. And on the other side, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of security researchers who are now making a living, earning extra money on the side by participating in these open audit contests and securing some of the most important code in the world while they do it. Just out of curiosity, how many people in this room have participated in an audit contest before? Wow, like probably 30% of the room. So as you can see, it's a very important part of crypto security. If you're not familiar with audit contests and how they work, they kind of fit somewhere in between traditional audits and bug bounties. Traditional audits have 2 to 4 security researchers. Audit contests have usually hundreds of security researchers coming in and participating, trying to find bugs in code, and they get paid based on the bugs that they find. So the higher severity bug that they find, the more they make out of an audit contest pot. Everyone is competing for the same pot. The more unique the bug is, so if 2 people find it rather than 10 people, that bug is going to be worth more. Those people are going to get paid more. And as you can see here, you have similar structure to an audit where you pay the full amount up front, and that amount is put into a contest pot mainly, paid out to the security researchers who find the bugs that are most impactful to the protocol and most unique. There is a salary paid to security researchers for a traditional audit. On the audit contest side of things, there's no salary, but there's a fixed pot of money that everyone can access. And on the bug bounty side of things, which is usually something you put live once you go to mainnet, there's no fixed amount of money at all. So you only get paid if you find a bug during a bug bounty, and protocol teams only pay any kind of money if a bug gets found in a bug bounty program. Bug bounty programs usually last as long as a protocol is live on chain, so it can be months, it can be years, whereas audit contests are usually going to last a few weeks. Not everything on this slide is exactly accurate in terms of audits and audit contests, and we'll talk a little bit about that further down the presentation. So how are audit contests going? How popular are they these days? As we saw, probably 30% of this room has participated in an audit contest, which is awesome and crazy. There have been 625 audit contests in the history of crypto, pretty much. 336,000, close to 37,000 vulnerabilities have been found, and almost 15,000 higher critical vulnerabilities have been found thanks to audit contests. $36 million have been paid to the participants in audit contests. I know there's multiple people who have become millionaires just from participating in audit contests, and we've seen a huge influx of security researchers, up and coming and experienced, participating in them because of this crazy opportunity to make life-changing money in a lot of cases by participating. So how's it going in 2024? We're only 10 months into 2024, let's call it. There have been 221 audit contests. It's a new record for audit contests this year, so you can see it's thriving. 8,000 vulnerabilities rewarded in just the first 6 months of 2024 alone, and 3,000 higher critical vulnerabilities rewarded in those first 6 months. Almost $10 million were paid out in the first 6 months of 2024 alone, and that's going to be even bigger as we get to see the full year. A lot of audit contests haven't paid out even if they finished in October, so we're waiting on the data, but there's going to be probably close to $20 million in rewards paid out just this year. So some recent data, October 2024, that was last month, we had 26 audit contests across all platforms. That's in comparison to 19 a year ago. And I really wish we could see the number of participants across the entire landscape of audit platforms, but we can't see that, so I'm just going to show you Sherlock's data. I'm the co-founder of Sherlock, by the way, if you didn't see that earlier. We have about double the amount of audit participants in audit contests last month versus October a year ago, which I think is really awesome and shows that the space is growing, security researchers are getting up to speed, are arming themselves, learning about new vulnerabilities, and I think it's really contributed to that slide that Peter Kaczerginski showed at the beginning of this session, that essentially not that many bugs in smart contracts have caused losses compared to last year, which I think is really great. So I would call overall the current state of audit contests very healthy. Things are going in the right direction, all-time highs in a bunch of different areas, and this year is looking great overall in terms of audit contests. Of course, there are some things we want to be aware of, and I want to flag one of those things today and talk a little bit about just the different directions that audit contests are going in and where the space might go in the future. As we saw on this original slide, it's not exactly accurate what we're saying here in terms of audit contests, because there are so many different types of contests, and there's a few new trends that have come out in the last couple months in terms of how audit contests are being conducted. So some of those new trends are fixed pay for security researchers to participate in audits. This is something that's not that new. We've actually seen it for a while now, where security experts are getting paid fixed dollar amounts to show up to contests, and this is very much like an audit. If you're doing an audit, you're getting paid a fixed amount, you know you're going to make money during that time, you can dedicate all of your time to looking at the code, which is great. Another area we've seen is a variable price for protocol teams. So fixed pay for security researchers looks more like an audit, but a variable price for protocol teams looks more like a bug bounty, where the protocol team doesn't actually pay out until a bug is found or a certain number of critical bugs are found. Variability in contest length. Audit contests historically have been scoped a little bit like audits, where you want to give every researcher enough time to look at every single contract, but we're seeing some variations in contest length where maybe there's a ton of code. I think we've seen 100,000 lines of code, and you get like a month to review it, which is definitely not enough time to review 100,000 lines of code, but it's more like a bug bounty where people say, look, you can look at it, you can find bugs that you can find, and then whatever you find in a month, we'll pay you out for that. We've also seen no guaranteed payouts. So that's the same thing as variable costs for protocol teams, but for the security researchers. So you may not get paid in an audit contest unless you find a medium severity bug, or you may not get paid in an audit contest unless you find a high severity bug. And we've also seen a little bit of first come, first serve findings payouts, where the first person who finds a bug during an audit contest gets paid more, or even in some cases gets paid everything. And that looks a lot like a bug bounty. So we're kind of seeing a trend where there's almost two types of audit contests that are being created now, or it looks a little bit like there's two separate types of audit contests. You have one which looks a lot like an audit, so they can be open or closed, they have reserved security researchers, there's a fixed cost for the client, fixed pot for the security researchers. The length is based on how long it takes to actually review the code. These are all similarities to a traditional audit, or a lot of them are similarities to a traditional audit. And then we have this other type of audit contest, which is totally open, but there's no guarantee around what security researchers are going to show up. There's a variable cost for the client, so the client could essentially pay nothing. And there's unlocking vulnerability tiers, a lot like a bug bounty, where you don't get paid unless a certain severity vulnerability is found. And the length of that contest is often decided by the client, less how long it takes a security researcher to review that whole code base, more, hey, this client wants to launch in 3 weeks, so the contest is going to be 2 weeks long. Because of this, I think there's two types of audit contests now, or two types of contests, sorry. There's an audit contest and there's a bug bounty contest. And these are actually very different from each other, and I think it's worth separating them out and kind of understanding what a client is trying to achieve with their with their contest, whether it be an audit contest or a bug bounty contest. Because doing an audit is very well, I'll get to it on the next slide, but doing an audit is very different than setting up a bug bounty program and has completely different security implications for a protocol team. So audit contests and bug bounty contests, both of them are extremely valuable. In terms of having arrows in your quiver, you want to be able to have both. You want to be able to deploy one or the other based on the situation that you're in. If you're looking for an audit, a really robust audit, an audit contest is a great choice. If you're looking to do a bug bounty program right after you finish your auditing or go to mainnet very quickly, then a bug bounty contest can also be a good choice and can help you save money as a protocol team. Instead of paying out $3 million bug bounties, you can do a $1 million audit contest and you get all 3 of those bugs potentially in the same contest, which saves the protocol team $2 million in that case. So both are very valuable and both can be used depending on the situation. However, audit contests are essentially a type of audit. Bug bounty contests are not. Bug bounty contests do not guarantee any security researcher participation. They don't guarantee code coverage. Obviously, an audit doesn't do that either, but there's an expectation that the full code is reviewed. There are dedicated security researchers, whereas in a bug bounty contest, it's less clear exactly what you're getting in terms of security coverage, we'll say. So I think one thing that we should be aware of as different platforms are offering different types of contests is that we need to be very careful about how we use the term audit, because audit has become kind of a restricted word in the security industry, and we don't want to be selling a bug bounty product and calling it an audit, because I know a lot of people in this room have put in a lot of work to making sure that crypto audits, Web3 security audits are valuable, are doing full coverage. As Peter Kaczerginski showed on that slide, we're going in the right direction. So I just want to make sure that we aren't going to start confusing people by calling bug bounty contests audits, because bug bounty contests are definitely not audits, and this is very important. So overall, the state of audit contests, very healthy, going in the right direction. Top protocol teams are using them. They're a great tool to find critical bugs before you go to mainnet, before you put up a multi-million-dollar bug bounty, which many teams are doing now. But we need to be careful about it. It's a very powerful tool, and we need to know exactly, we need to tell protocol teams exactly what they're getting when they sign up for an audit contest and what that audit contest is achieving, whether it's an audit or whether it's more like a bug bounty. So overall, both paths are great. Whether you choose to do an audit contest, whether you choose to do a bug bounty contest, we're headed in the right direction. Things are really good, but let's make sure to keep the bug bounty terms dedicated to bug bounty products, audit terms dedicated to audit products, and that way protocol teams will know what they're getting and we will have a lot of safety in DeFi. Thank you very much. Any questions? Overall state of audit contests, bug bounty contests, anything at all? Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Is it me? Or?
Yeah,
okay.
On the couch.
So one question I have is, like, as an Aave developer, I am one of the developers of the Aave protocol. We have done many bug bounty programs and campaigns and a variety of different activities around, like, the security of the protocol. So one thing I noticed is that it's really hard sometimes to discern reports that are actually valuable and meaningful from reports that are maybe attempt to get a very easy bounty or reports that have been reported multiple times.
Yeah.
So there are a variety of challenges around participating into these campaigns, mostly because they take a lot of mental effort in trying to discern stuff that is actually meaningful and valuable from stuff that is less valuable or maybe just plain and simple waste of time. So do you have an idea about how, moving on in the future, we can actually challenge this state of things and maybe improve so that the experience get even better?
Yeah, great question. So in an audit contest, they're totally open. You can receive vulnerabilities from anywhere. Basically, anyone can submit vulnerabilities, which means that you can see everything. You see people using ChatGPTs to submit things that look real but aren't real. Basically, you know, like every type of thing under the sun you can see in a submission in an audit contest. So there are some things that a lot of platforms do, like only allow high and medium severity vulnerabilities so that all the fluff underneath isn't really a part of it, isn't really rewarded, isn't something teams have to look at. Another interesting thing is we've seen over the course of 2 years of doing audit contests now that judging is really difficult. And I think that's kind of what you're getting at, is how do you discern between something that sounds like a bug versus something that actually is a bug, or something that isn't that useful to the protocol team versus something that is, and you get all these different submissions. And so I think we've seen platforms moving towards dedicating a higher dollar amount to judging, because it's become clear that you really need to have somebody who can discern well between what is a bug in that specific type of protocol for that team and what isn't. And this is a really difficult problem. I don't think there is a fully objective way of always determining that. So having a great judge for those audit contests is the best way we know how right now.
Maybe AI in the future, like training against like past submissions and stuff could be an idea.
Yeah, I mean, we've got AI doing submissions, so we might as well have AI doing judging
exactly.
against it.
They cancel each other, yeah?
Yeah. I think someone over here had a question.
So my question was similar to what you talked about just right now, about the lows and gas optimizations not being awarded too much. So in the beginning they were, and now we have moved to a situation where only mediums and highs are being awarded. And do you see a future where only highs and criticals are being awarded? And if yes, do you think that this will be some kind of an entry barrier for beginners who are looking for these low-hanging fruits in lows and mediums?
Sorry, entry barrier for who?
Entry barrier for beginners, for amateur security researchers.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think one of the great parts about audit contests is that you can start out not knowing a ton about security, and you can still make $50 in an audit contest. You can make $500. I mean, a lot of people in this room have made $100, $1,000, $3,000 in an audit contest and said, that's it, I'm quitting my job, I'm dedicating myself to this full time, which I think is amazing and awesome. But it is true that what's valuable to protocol teams, especially as they get close to mainnet, is more on the criticals, the highs, and they care less about, hey, you can change your code in this way to optimize something, because they're like, look, we need to go to mainnet, we need to just be secure at this point. So there is a little bit of tension there between having audit contests that accept all kinds of vulnerabilities and making sure that up-and-coming security researchers can make money, gain confidence, build momentum in their career by doing audit contests, which I think has happened a lot, versus balancing protocol teams who, in certain situations, may only want high and critical severity vulnerabilities before they're going to mainnet. So I don't know the exact answer to that question, but I hope we'll see a balance where beginners can still have the right on-ramps to get to become top security experts in the space, like we've seen over the last couple of years.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is it safe to say that there's more incentives in bug bounties than audit contests? I think if you look at the dollar amounts are a lot higher in bug bounties, but the likelihood of getting paid is much lower. So it's, or in most cases, I would say is lower. Yeah, sure.
So would it be better to start off with audit contests and then go into bug bounties?
100%, 100%. I think we've seen a lot of teams take that path, especially doing more traditional consultative audits on this side, audit contests here, and then bug bounty, especially once you're live on mainnet. because it's like a risk-reward type of thing. So there's a lot of vulnerabilities that are going to get found in those early audits, and you're not going to have to pay a lot of money for them. In audit contests, there's going to be like a medium amount of vulnerabilities found maybe, and you're going to pay a medium amount for it. And then in the bug bounty program, there's going to be very few bugs found, but you're going to pay a lot for each one of those bugs. Cool. I think that's it. We can end the session here. Thank you guys for attending session 4. Hope it was informative. And yeah, looking forward to session 5.